So welcome back guys to another video, and today I'm doing a review on Alliance Alive Remastered. Now Alliance Alive was originally released on the 3DS in 2017, and now you can get it on all major consoles including Steam. It was published by NIS of America, who I have to give a big shout and a huge thank you for supplying a review copy to the studio. And I do want to say that this is going to be a non-spoiler review. I am not going to spoil anything. A matter of fact, the footage I will show in this review is the first 2 hours of the game and also trailer footage. So without further ado, let's get into it. Taking place in a fantasy world, 4 lands are separated by oceans. The world of humans were invaded by the daemons, who feared the energy from the human realm called chaos. Their invasion culminated in the creation of a barrier which caused catastrophic climate changes and generated a cross-shaped flow of energy dubbed the Dark Current to destroy much of humanity. These events caused the sky to turn completely black, and by the game's events, the world is divided into zones by the government of the daemons as supreme rulers. The main characters in the game are members of the Night Ravens, a human-resistant group who fight the daemons and seek to restore the control of the world to humanity. Now Alliance Alive's gameplay is quite interesting because it's a turn-based RPG through and through, but there's something a little different. You just don't level up your characters, which in my opinion counts down on mindless random battles and grinding, but the more you use an attack or action, the stronger it becomes, which in hindsight adds a whole new element of strategy to the quote-unquote normal JRPG formula. During the combat, characters can enter an ignition state, which once the ignition gauge is filled from being attacked, entering that state can rise the intensity based on your current skills, and attack powers increase at the cost of a higher skill point consumption for special abilities. In the state, you can also perform Final Strike, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's sort of like a final blow when the battle gets too heated. The downside is you will break your weapon and have to get it fixed later in the game. I was pretty delighted every time my character had a awoke moment, which meant I learned a brand new skill to add to my collection of movesets. Any characters can use weapons, as in swords, axes, staffs, etc. And they all have their own pros and cons with talent points, adding a lot of replay value. Now, going into this game completely blind, I have to admit I'd never played it on the 3DS, so this was my first time playing it. I did a little bit of homework though, and found out that it was a part of the Legend of Legacy series, which I'm not too familiar with. And looking at the writers, I was like, oh my gosh, freaking Yoshitaka Yamara did the writing for this game, and if you're not too familiar with him, he's the writer for Shikoden 1 through 3, so that would explain why I have a lot of nostalgia, a lot of like a little bit of flashbacks when I was playing this game of playing like PS1 era RPGs. It's got the graphic style that made me think of like Bravely Default, had the feeling of games like Octopath Traveler, where it's not trying to just be a nostalgic JRPG, but it's an old school at its roots JRPG, and I think that's really awesome, and something that it does that I don't feel like a lot of JRPGs do today is it starts off with a bang. The story really progresses very fast. It starts out kind of stereotypical in a small town, you know, finding out that all this world has gone to a disarray, and you see your first 2 heroes, but then it really starts to kick up the first hour. After the first dungeon, you're automatically glued to your seat, and I think that's really freaking awesome. The gameplay is really fresh. It makes me think of a progressed style of Final Fantasy II from the Famicom. I really enjoyed the fighting style. I feel like that's just as important as the story in a JRPG, especially if you're going to be grinding a lot, you know, leveling up your weapons. You don't have to worry about leveling up your character per se, but leveling up your movesets and whatnot. I think that's very important. And I thought the battle style was a lot of fun. I mean, once you get the hang of it, it's something a little different, but at the same time, it's not too different that it doesn't take away the essence of this old school JRPG that Alliance Alive is trying to awaken for old school gamers. Now, before I give this game a score, I do want to talk about some of the things I don't like about the game. You know, I enjoyed the pacing of the story. The writing was very snappy. You could relate to the characters. I mean, there's 9 main characters in this game, and I feel like that's a daunting task to begin with. But the gameplay, as much as I love it, I wish it was explained just a little bit more. There was a lot of times that they would show you a new way of playing the game, a new option, but they would just be like, hey, check out the guide when you get a chance and you could figure it out. And I mean, it's kind of a catch-22 because I like that I could go back and kind of read up on how to do these certain new mechanics, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't have like an hour tutorial of like how to press the X button. So giving this game a score, I would definitely give it a 9 out of 10. I'm very excited it got remastered, so folks like myself who never experienced it on a 3DS can play this. And I would say if you're a JRPG fan, if you're an old school JRPG fan, and you want something a little different, Alliance Alive may be right up your alley. And if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the notifications beside the subscription button so you get notified on all future videos coming out on this channel. And leave a comment below, is this a game you want to check out? I'd love to hear from you. As always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.